Hello propeller heads, this is Froogle, and this is the first in a series of videos doing a complete playthrough of the Black Shark 2 campaign, the deployment campaign in this case. This is mission 1, deployment. So let's turn my sound down, I can barely hear myself speak. Alright, so there's no combat going to happen in this mission, it's just a deployment mission where you get introduced to the terrain you're going to be flying in. So I'm just going to adjust my track IR. I got complained at last time that my track IR was a bit too sensitive and made some of you nauseous, so I apologize for that. I need it somewhat sensitive though, so sorry. We are in mountainous terrain. That does affect the performance of the chopper. So you need to bear that in mind when you're flying. It's actually quite hard to keep up with him. We're going to be following that guy over there. It's sometimes quite tricky to keep up with him, and it's very tricky flying in formation, but I'll do the best I can. It's been quite some time since I've flown the Black Shark, but now Black Shark 2's out, I thought I would start again. So I'm setting up my countermeasures. I want one countermeasure launched from both sides of the aircraft. I would like 3 sequences and 1 second between them. So every 1 second, 3 times it's going to launch one flare from each side of the aircraft if we get attacked, so that's good to have that set up. I'm going to put altitude hold. No, actually I'm going to leave that off. I don't really need that. I'm going to turn on my blade tips. We are in a combat zone, but we're not expecting things to get personal. And he flies with all his lights on, so I'm going to as well. And he's got 2 minutes to go yet before he takes off. There is a bug in this mission, incidentally, in that you can't contact air traffic control. Tried a number of times. Set up my radio channel down here, tuned it in, won't work. Look, I'll show you. So we go air traffic control, whatever that is, podcover, request startup. Nothing. So we'll ignore that. Let me just get my seat all comfy. I'm sorry for the spinning around of the track IR there. There we go. So we'll assume that we got permission and everything else, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little hover check. Just make sure we're all good. Trim is off. Very important to do that before you take off, just to make sure everything's good. It is a little windy, and we are in a mountainous region, which does quite dramatically affect the performance characteristics of the Black Shark. Alright, so now we just wait for that guy. And then we play catch up initially. So while it sounds like a fairly boring mission, nothing's shooting at you and you're not really shooting back, it is actually pretty good fun. Yeah, you get to see the area that you're going to be flying the missions in. It's neat for practicing your formation as flying as well. He tells you to maintain like 200 or 300 meters separation. In practice, yeah, that's probably good, but he's heavily camouflaged and fits in very well in the landscape right here. So at 300 meters out, he's actually very hard to see. I tend to use the latter part of this mission really to mess around and practice my formation. Can I put the aircraft next to him, beside him, on top of him, behind him, all that kind of stuff. I will warn you, I'm not an expert on this. I prefer the DCS 10. It's easier, a lot easier. So all you experts out there, forgive me. Alright, he's up, he's good to go. So are we. Let me just zoom my camera out a little bit. There we go. So we'll assume we got clear for takeoff. Let's get this bird up. Get a little bit of forward flight. Alright, gear up. Green lights are out. Let's try to keep him in sight as much as possible. Which initially is going to require being behind him. Now the mission briefing says the flight altitude is 600 meters. It's really not. He gets down incredibly low at certain points in this flight. There he goes. So there's a lot of narration from him throughout the flight telling you key landmarks, things to look out for, which you'll see in a second. Which makes flying a little bit hard because you're trying to maintain your position from him, you're trying to fly the aircraft and read text is appearing on screen since he's Russian and very few of us simulated Black Shark pilots actually speak Russian. There we go, just stabilize it. Whoa! I just screwed up my trim completely. Good job, Pete. Let's try that once again. There we go. Oh, what's up with that? I think that's the fact I don't have altitude. Hold on, did that? Alright, so I'm keeping it slow. He's going to accelerate, which means he should pop out from underneath my nose. There we go, he's down there to my left. This first part of the flight is always next to impossible for me to keep the aircraft in position, let alone trim it, but I'll do my best. Alright, so accelerating to 180. There he is. I'm going to go a little bit faster than 180 for obvious reasons. Those being that he's over there and I'm over here. Alright, let's bleed some of that speed off now. Now in flying the Black Shark, it's worth bearing in mind that the collective, the throttle, it's not a throttle, it actually has separate throttles, but the collective, which many people think of as the throttle, controls your height. The pitch of the nose, whether it's pointing up or down, controls your speed. So in terms of formation flying, look, he's getting higher than me, so I just increase collective. He's getting away from me, so I drop the nose. Simple as that. Sounds so easy, doesn't it? It's not. Let's trim this as much as we possibly can. Now the way I trim the Black Shark, I know a lot of people have problems with this, I turn centerward trimming off, and that then means that I have to hold down the trim button while I reposition the joystick. So I hold trim down, put the aircraft where I want it to be, and then release trim at that point. That's how I trim the Black Shark. It works very well for me. Your mileage will vary. If you have a force feedback joystick, you don't really need to do that because the sim will lock your joystick in position once you've trimmed it. So he's pointing out there's a lot of power lines in the area. He's absolutely right. You do need to be careful of those in DCS Black Shark 2. They will tear the rotors out of your aircraft. There we go. Nicely set up now. Red lights on the gear. I should have checked that a little bit earlier. I apologize. Yeah, he's actually turned all of his lights off now, isn't he? So let's follow suit there. There we go. Loud lights off. Let's turn blade tips off. So he's dropping down beneath me now, so I'm just going to lower the collective. My speed is good. I'm actually trimmed to go a little bit over 180, so if I just let go of my joystick, I should pick up some speed and gain on him. And then when I get close, I don't bother re-trimming it. I just put a little bit of back pressure on the stick, and that will take some of this speed off. So I have a what is this, miles per hour or knots? Or is it kilometers per hour even? Let's assume it's miles per hour. Nah, it's not 180 miles an hour, is it? It's probably kilometers an hour. So let's assume it's kilometers an hour. Don't know what I was going to say. Sorry about that. Alright, so we're passing over a town that he likes now. Alright, I'm slowing down a little bit too much. Increasing the collective will slow you down. If you increase the collective, you will start to climb, and that will bleed a little bit of your speed off. Bear that in mind. Similarly, if you drop the collective and start to descend, you will speed up. You're going towards the ground. All little tricks and tidbits for the Black Shark here. Now, like I said, the first part of this mission, first half of this mission, I actually find it very hard to stay in formation with this guy. This is about as close as I normally get, and you will find on each turn I tend to lose him. Let's put the map up here. We do have a flight plan. He tends to ignore it. Useful. Alright, turn to 140 and increase speed to 200. So watch, he'll start to climb and turn. So let's try to follow him somewhat, but we know we're going to that heading at 140, I think he said. We'll just try to hold it about there. I'm slower than him now. He should pop out in front of me if he hasn't already. When you're flying these missions and you're supposed to be in formation, don't panic if you lose sight of the other guy. It's not a big deal. He will come back, as he just did. All you need to do is slow down a little bit, descend a little bit, and eventually you'll find him. So he's quite a way ahead of me now. He said increase to 200, so I'm going to go to about 220. Just going to trim this to climb at about 220, we should catch on him just fine. There we go. So he says we're going to take the road to that town. I don't actually... Oh, this road. It's on my right and beneath me right now. I'm going to take that. See, I've lost him again. Oh, there he is. His camouflage is very, very effective. So just lowering the collective now so I can get down to his altitude. Trying to keep my eyes on the dot on the landscape that he is. I'm at 240 and increasing speed. So I'm going to need to slow down quite rapidly now. Collective down so we don't climb. And once I get behind him, I will need to retrim the aircraft to hold 200. So the way I do that is I get the aircraft flying where I want, but without trimming it. Oh, here we go, a 10 again. I'll trim it in a second. 250 now, 105. So collective up, nose down, 105. There he is. That was a pretty nice turn, actually. We stayed with him, which is unusual. Bit gusty up here. I'm going to put the nose down, and he wants 250 now, so I'm probably going to overspeed a little bit to catch him up. I'll try not to break the rules too much. So let's just get this trim for about 265. We overspeed at 272. As I said, we're in mountainous terrain. It does affect the performance of the helicopter a lot. Also, I've only got 50% fuel and no weapons on board, so it's quite a light aircraft. There's the overspeed warning. So nose up just a touch, and the pitch controls speed. 272, and off it goes. Let's just slide in behind him a little bit, collective down, nose up to slow down. We want 250. I think we hold this for a little while so we can have a chat. So I'm at 266. Very hilly. This is where all the missions are going to be. This area, all around here. Which is the purpose of this flight. It's a familiarization flight. Get you familiar with the landscape. That's why he's pointing out all these landmarks. You're not actually expected to remember everything it tells you. It's also just good practice to make sure you really do know how to fly. So there are mountains to the left. Gentle northern slopes used to be pasture fields, not so much now. There we go. So 260, he's at 250. Just going to get in position. So like I was saying about trimming, what I tend to do is I will get the aircraft where I want it to be, then I will hold trim down. I will need to readjust the joystick at that point. See, I'm holding trim now. But positioning the nose and the attitude of the aircraft prior to holding down trim gives me a reference as to where I need to end up. Now we're going to climb, which is a bit of a pain actually because I'm trying to trim. Over torque a bit. And when you climb, as I said, you slow down, so quite often you lose sight of this guy. You know, he's starting to pull away from me now. Don't worry about it, just stay on course, you'll find him again. See what I mean? It's supposed to be 600 meters altitude. He's way down on the ground now. I'm way over speed. That should do that. Trim it there. Collective down. Bring him back into sight. Come on now. And slow down. Let's see if we can get this positioned properly. That's better. That's much better. I had the aircraft trimmed for a lot faster than 250, so I can just let go of the joystick. And we'll pick up the speed that we need. Where'd he go? He is in front of me and above me. There he is. So he's really following nap of the Earth right now, which I'm doing a terrible job of. I'm more concentrating right now on him rather than constant altitude, which is foolish. It's kind of a bad mission. He really should be giving you things like, we're going to fly nap of the Earth at 30 meters, at 250. You know, it'd be a lot easier to adjust. One other little tip, because you're flying in mountains here, you don't often have a straight line horizon. You have hills. So always use the artificial horizon and the HSI to double check what you think you're seeing. There we go. To see whether you're level or turning or whatever else. I do believe I screwed up. Nope, there he is. Let's get some altitude. You can be fairly brutal with the collective. It's not slow and gentle. You can, I wouldn't say chop it close, but be forceful. Do it with purpose when you adjust that collective to adjust your altitude. Don't pussyfoot it. As you can see, he's not. There we go, that's better. Where'd you go, son? Alright, let's trim this now for 250 right behind him. So if I can trim this at 250, then with it trimmed I just push forward on the stick to give me a bit more speed, which should be about there. So if you look at the HSI right now, I'm actually turning to the right. Ignore the hills. It's important to watch your instruments in this terrain. So now with the aircraft trimmed, I'm just feeding in corrections on the stick to get my speed up or down where I need it to be. Simple as that. Now bear in mind as well, real helicopter pilots, I don't know about the combat guys, but Bells, Jet Rangers and stuff like that, they tend to fly with their fingertips. So when you're adjusting this thing and flying it, don't get your joystick in a death grip. Try to hold it loosely with your fingertips if you can. I'm actually flying with a Warthog, so it's actually very hard to hold it with my fingertips because it's a very stiff joystick. But try to finesse it. If you hold it in a death grip, then you tend to make fairly harsh inputs, which is not really what you want. Look to the right, which is to the south. The Caucasus are over there. There they are. The problem with doing that is you lose sight of him. As just happened. Now, follow my own advice. If you do lose sight of him, slow down. He's flying at 250, so drop it to about 240. Drop the altitude a little bit. There you go, and he'll pop back into sight. There he is on my right. So we're actually both on the right course. We're still in formation. There's two helicopters on the right, see them? We're still in formation, we're doing just fine. Also, look at the shadows. You can see from his shadow on the ground, he's over there. Don't panic, don't start slaloming around, trying to pick up your flight leader again. As long as you stay on course, do what you were told to do, it will all pan out. Just slow down. If you're going too fast, you're not going to find him, obviously. Turn left, heading 065. Here we go. Which is actually following that road, I think. I love the graphics engine updates they put into Black Shark 2. He's using the DCS A10 engine for the graphics now. It's really good. I mean, you need a high level of detail in a helicopter because you're flying so low to the ground. In some cases, using all this scenery as cover. So I'm just trying to retrim the aircraft, which is why nose just bounced a bit there. Village off to the right. And a mountain. Okay. I'm losing speed. How low can you go? He is just to the right of my HUD. For those of you having a problem seeing him, like I am, now he's directly center in my HUD, just behind the heading tape. I need to trim this for a bit more speed. Notice you have to trim quite a lot. That's normal. It's not a Cessna. So this is a friendly village, useful to know, nestled in the hills here. Not likely to get shot here. Apparently our guys come up here for a bit of R&R. This village here is hosting one of our bases. Very famous for its horses apparently. See what I mean? No, it's very hard to actually keep an eye on him and fly the helicopter and read that text and look around at the sites that he's calling out. But it is a really good mission for that reason. Paying attention to a lot of different things at once, which is what you're going to be doing when people start shooting at you. Turn heading 095. Keeping him in sight there, he's outside the right window. Actually maintaining a pretty good 200 to 300 meter separation here right now. If you're used to flying airplanes, fixed-wing airplanes, resist the urge to pull the nose up to adjust rate of climb or descent like I just did. Remember, it's all on the collective. Altitude is on the collective. Speed is on the cyclic, your pitch. Alright, so we're coming up on a forward operating base right now, which later missions do actually work from, so it's good to know. There's a big town here, factory, school type thing, and then off to the right of that small river, is our forward operating base. Right there. Man, it's a bit windy. So as I said, it's been quite a while since I've actually flown the Black Shark. I did fly Black Shark 1 quite a lot. I haven't really spent a lot of time in 2, which is why I started this video series really. I want to get familiar again, spent a lot more time in the DCS A10. It's a study sim. For those that have never seen this, it's what they call a study sim. It comes with an immense manual, and part of the enjoyment that people get from this series of sims, the DCS series, is studying that manual and learning everything to do with the systems. So just bear that in mind. It's not a jump in and shoot stuff down. I mean, there is an arcade mode. I don't know anybody that uses it. It's far more satisfying to read the manual, learn the systems, and fly this thing the way that it's supposed to be flown. Just bear that in mind though, it's tough as nails. You will be expected in later missions to really know your aircraft and all of its systems. Just trimming once again. Bit of an aero oscillation on the nose there. See, he's supposed to be doing 250. I'm doing 253 and I'm not catching him, so ignore him. Now this is an important landmark. You see the antenna, the master's coming up. You'll use that quite a lot in your missions as an egress route. So you'll hit some of these targets and then egress to that tower and then left straight down the valley. Which gives you cover on both sides and takes you towards home. That's think he's going to turn that way in a second as well. See how hard he is to spot? He is right in front of me, about 100 meters away. Isn't that crazy? Anybody that says camouflage doesn't work. Okay, turn the heading 045, which I think is following that river there. Bit of glare there. Alright, so we're looking for shadows. Oh, there he is, there he is. That was a nice turn. Just got to line up behind him again now. You can see from the map down there, bottom right as well, we're not really following the flight plan. I mean, we're kind of following it, but nowhere near as accurately as I would normally like to if I were flying on my own. A little frustrating, but again, it's all good practice. There's that oscillation once again. Zero 1-5. Should be about there. So again, for those that have never seen the Black Shark, it's a twin rotor coaxial helicopter, twin turbine attack helicopter. It's kind of Russia's version of the Apache or the Cobra. I think more like the Cobra or the Comanche. It's a single-man helicopter, whereas the Apache is a two-man helicopter, two-man crew. Very, very agile helicopter, deadly, and in keeping with the way that most Russian aircraft are, very, very basic, as you can see from the cockpit. Nowhere near as complicated as an Apache. Alright, let's get a little bit closer now. If we drop into an outside view real quick, you'll see how close we are. Not bad, huh? Sorry, couldn't show you that view for too long. A little bit paranoid about crashing. There we go. Already drifted off course a bit. So we're about to turn onto the home stretch now, which is 65 kilometers straight line. Pretty boring. I might cut the video, then again I might not. If the video ends up being about 45 minutes long, you know I didn't. Simple as that. Alright, turn to 280. Try to keep that speed up. That's 300, 29, 28. Then we have to play spot the wingman. There he is. Slow down a little bit. This is the leg of the journey where I normally mess around with practicing formation flying, which I suck at in a helicopter, I really do. Because it's just 65k straight line. There's not a whole hell of a lot to do. So let me just get this in position and trimmed, and we will do just that. Alright. So I want to be about there. There. Alright, so we're trimmed. We're a little bit too fast. Just going to drop the collective and slow down. He should pop out from underneath the nose on the left. Slightly left. Oh, not good. This is what this mission's all about. Learning your aircraft. I really had him in completely the wrong position. Alright, formation flying. Position the other aircraft relative to you where you want him to be. So at the moment I'm left of him. And then what you do is pick a position on the cockpit, line him up with it and keep him there. So he's pulling back from the center bar of the window there. So I need to pull back on the nose and lower the collective. Try to get him to go forward to the edge of the window there. See, he's gaining on the edge of the window, the front edge of the window now. He's also climbing up the window, so I increase my collective a touch. Okay, so now he's really got some good momentum towards the edge of my window, so I can get nose down. That's it, and try to hold him right there. He's climbing, so I increase my collective. Try to bring him down. I need a bit more speed, so nose forward. Try to bring him back. Here he comes. So before he gets too far back, you kind of want to anticipate when he's going to be where you want him to be. Nose up to slow down. Lower the collective because he's dropping. There we go. Now he's getting ahead of me again because I'm going too slow. You get the idea, right? Now I'm drifting towards him as well, so I'm going to put a little bit of left stick. He's going to drift away. But I do want to actually get a little bit close here, just to show you some of the graphics for those of you who are not Black Shark 2 aficionados and have not seen how beautiful this thing is. So nose up, left stick. Isn't that beautiful? A little less collective so I can bring him into view. Amazing graphics. That's a pretty good spot to hold him as well. Now he will move around a bit, as you can see. Not by much though. So let's try sliding across here. Bear in mind you have big spinny rotors on top of your helicopter, and so does he. So don't get too close if you're practicing sliding from one position to another. Alright, so he's above us, the collective up. Nose down because he's getting away. Now he's dropping down, so less collective. Perfect. Not really actually. A lot less collective now. There we go, so it's bringing him back up. There we go, perfect. How to hold formation without using the autopilot. Just keep him in the same position relative to something on your cockpit all the time. And then use tiny small adjustments on the cyclic and the collective to keep him there. And on this leg of the trip, like I said, just mess with it. Learn what your helicopter does. Learn how it responds. And just practice. Which is what sims are all about, right? Practice, practice, practice. How's that? Being behind him is actually quite dangerous right here. The helicopter, the one I'm in, not the one he's in, has a tendency to pick up speed very rapidly. The last thing you want to do is collide with his tail. Take a quick look outside. How's that? Not bad at all. Alright, less collective. Nose up, slow down. More collective now to hold him there. And let's slide back into formation. I know normally formation, two people like this two-man ship, I would be on the right. I'm not treating this too seriously. I actually prefer it if I'm on the left. It's just me. You don't have to leave the hateful comments. It's just Froogle messing around. Practice, practice, practice. Trying to hold him in that little front right quarter light now. And get a little bit closer. Just because it's good to do. So as I said at the beginning, this is the first in a series of videos on the Black Shark, Black Shark 2. I am going to do a complete playthrough of the campaign. I actually haven't played through the whole campaign myself yet. Ever. I think there's 5 campaigns now in Black Shark 2 as well, which is a lot of content. Campaigns in Black Shark 2 are scripted, they're not dynamic, it's not Falcon. But that's both a good thing and a bad thing. You know, you don't get a lot of variety, which is how I can tell you what's coming up in this mission right now, you know, all the time. Not a lot of variety, it is heavily scripted, but on the flip side, because it's heavily scripted, it's kind of handmade, and they tend to be quite high quality. There is a mission editor built into Black Shark 2 as well, so you can build your own missions, which is actually pretty cool. I like doing that. If you're inspired by something you read in the history books or in the newspaper even, you can go and build the mission. And if you do, please share it with us. This is a very complex aircraft. Every button and switch in here works. I actually wrote an iPhone application called Tap Check, and I'm going to do some videos on Tap Check actually, which is an interactive checklist system. It will read out checklists to you and respond with voice and everything else. Very, very cool for starting up anything. I have checklists for the DCS A10, for the Black Shark here, for Cessnas. There are checklists coming for the B-17, 737. Worth checking out. So please check out those videos when they hit the Froogle Sim channel. I think you'll get a kick out of them. 99-cent application. Who could say no to that, right? Nice reservoir on the right. That's a key landmark. Says you're nearly home. Over there. There we go, 2 abreast. Let's fall back in behind him. I'm getting a little bit nervous being that close. We've done so well, and then in the last 10 minutes of the mission, collide with your wingman. Awesome. So just slowed it down to about 244 here. I should let him get out in front of me. Then I'll just hold him on the right. The interesting thing about the missions in the campaign as well is you tend to always fly from FARPs, forward operating bases, which don't have runways. They're pretty hard to spot from the air. They are tricky as hell to land on. I really don't like landing on them. In fact, I think something might be up with my sim. The last 2 times I had practicing landing on one, crashed. So we'll see how this does. It's partly because I also have the track IR recenter key mapped to my Thrustmaster Warhawk paddle, which is also mapped to the aircraft's brakes. Probably need to think about that and rework it. Excuse my cold. So the reason I'm flying looking sideways is I'm just trying to maintain formation. So Shastivo, it's kind of the last village that you cross before you're home. It's level with the reservoir there. It's used for a landmark, as I said, as he said. As I said, I'm flying this with track IR. I actually cannot imagine trying to fly this sim without track IR. It's a helicopter. You need to have your head on a swivel. The sim does support coolie hats on your joystick, so you can move a hat to look around, but I wouldn't want to. That said, I'm sure other people have a lot of success with it. I just prefer flying with something more natural. So we should be coming up on a large town ahead and to the right shortly. That is where our base is. And as I said, it's a forward operating base, so it's actually very, very hard to spot. Oh, watch your crown. Let's see there. Yep, low fuel. We only started with 50% of fuel in the tank. There we go. So he's saying contact the tower and go to land. As I said, in this mission the radios are bugged. You can't contact the tower. Don't know why. Mission success. Let's see if I can land it. Probably not. I don't know what's up with the landing on this lately. Anyway, I am somewhat trimmed. Let's trim this a bit more, so slow down. There we go. Which lets me go hands-free now, so I can turn the lights on. Put those blade tips on. There we go. There you go. KA-50 Black Shark fully trimmed, hands off flight. Pretty good, right? Let's look outside real quick. Okay, so our base is basically a series of helipads to the left of that town. So I'm just going to drop down a little bit, slow down a little bit, see if we can spot them. According to my map down there, we're very close. Let me zoom in on the map for you. There. So normally you would speak to ATC now, get permission to land. If they're very helpful, they would tell you which landing pad to land on. We don't have that luxury because of the bug. So I'm just going to pick one and try to put her down. There's my buddy. Now, let's see if we can zoom in. There they are. You see them there, right there. Right on the edge of those trees. Get my speed down to about 120. I'll drop the landing gear. Very low on fuel. Which is actually quite interesting because it makes the helicopter extremely light and bouncy. Which is not ideal. Alright, I'm going to go gear down. Green lights are out. Let's get some more speed bled off this. There we go, green lights. Very slow and wallowy now, dropping. There's the landing pads. Low fuel warning. Who'd have thunk it? Alright, so we just got to turn around, come back. Not the best approach. Haters gonna hate. Your approach was shit. Well, yeah. Alright, so we're 134 meters up. We are very slow, but traveling forwards. In fact, we're traveling backwards, I think. No, we're not traveling forwards. I like to have the door open at this point. Helps me see a little bit better. Like the fact that if I put it down here, I'm going to land on a helicopter. There's my buddy. It is a little windy. You can see it's pretty hard to line up on these things, which is why I have the door open. Some people like to use hover mode at this point. I actually don't. And we're down. Once again, my name is Froogle. Thank you for watching. Tune in for more next time.